We are back for part 5. Sports Moods. 2 Moodies.
1 duty.
Sports. Let go. Now, we've been talking about everything from this weekend's Mayweather McGregor fight. We just got finished with WWE, and now we are on Kyrie Irving's trade or not trade. That is the question. No pun intended. But so yeah, the initial trade is for Cleveland to get Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Ante Cizic, I don't really know how to say that.
I wouldn't even.
And a 2018 first round pick from the Nets that Boston got earlier. All so that Boston can get Kyrie Irving. And the story going on is that they want more because they're having concerns about Isaiah Thomas because of his pre-existing injury and overcoming it. So what is your feelings on this?
It's kind of like this, like you go to somebody, you buy a car, you drive it off the lot, and 2 days later, it cuts off on the interstate. You're like, wait a minute, this car shouldn't be doing this. Either y'all gonna fix this, or you can have your car back.
All right.
So it's kind of like, I understand where they're coming from with this. You want to make sure that whatever I'm giving you, I'm getting either equal talent back or something that's going to help my team be better. And right now, that hip concern is a big issue right now. I mean, because you think about it with Cleveland, I mean, they got Derrick Rose. He's not really the best at staying healthy. I mean, I just hate to say it, but I mean, history shows.
That's true.
And with Isaiah Thomas, you don't want to inherit another injury-prone player too. And then you already know Kevin Love has his issues here and there when he gets hurt too. Not saying Kyrie's the healthiest because he's had his injury issues too, but he's the person that you can kind of count on to be there when it matters.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I first saw the trade, I thought it was like Trump. I thought it was just fake news. I was like,
right, fake
I was like,
news.
no, this ain't like they were talking about it. Where I was like, nah, y'all lying. Y'all lying. I actually went on and saw it. I was like, really? Boston actually gave away Isaiah Thomas to get Kyrie. Now I know Kyrie wanted to leave. That came as a surprise to me because they really kind of kept that under wraps for a while. So when it hit media mainstream, I was like, wow, he's not really happy to be there. But a lot of people feel that he wants to go ahead and get out after this year because LeBron may test that free agency market again. And a lot of people feel like Los Angeles would be where LeBron would go. I don't know if that's going to be reality or not. But, I mean, I think Kyrie will make Boston better. But, I mean, at the end of the day, when you're on Cleveland, you're almost guaranteed a trip to the finals because you're playing with the best player on the planet in LeBron James, as much as I hate to say that.
Yeah. And honestly, I didn't think about it that way. That is true. LeBron is just most likely out of here next year from Cleveland. But I really kind of took Kyrie's words to heart when he was like, I really just want to start my own legacy. I mean, really, he did what anybody who comes into the NBA wants to do, get a ring. He has that now. So now, is he going to continue to live under LeBron's shadow if LeBron does stay in Cleveland? Or will you go somewhere and show that, hey, I can build a team can work around me. Now it's my Kobe time. Let me show that I don't need LeBron to make it. So it's funny because I really felt like this story sounds kind of like the woman who stays with this rich man who has everything, but we don't know is actually beating her at night. And she finally decided to speak up and leave. That's kind of how I felt about this whole thing. But I respect Kyrie for him, like I said, wanting to be his own person. He doesn't want to be the team that was under LeBron. Just like with Jordan's team. Jordan has 6 rings, but it's not until you really argue about who's the greatest that you really mention Pippen and the team that was around him. We're going to talk about the GOAT. We're going to solely talk about Jordan. Mm-hmm. So, I guess Kyrie might have seen that and didn't want to fall into that stigma of just being the associate of the new GOAT, which I hate to say that as much because the biggest argument we can talk about is who is better between LeBron and Jordan. But we're going to have to save that one.
We got to save that one for another day.
Yeah.
But my thing, do you think it's kind of similar to what KD went through? Even though KD went to what people deem as a superstar team, but with Golden State, that team was built through the draft.
Right. Like, this wasn't a team
built year by year. They added on those pieces to make that team better. Because when Mark Jackson was there, they were still winning games. He couldn't get them over the hump. Yeah. But, Steve Kerr comes in, wins the title. But, do you think it's kind of similar? Even though Kyrie's not going to a superstar team in Boston, but, do you think it's kind of like, hey, maybe it's reversed because KD left to get a championship. Yeah. Kyrie already has his title. Maybe he just wants to, like you said, build a legacy somewhere else. Do you kind of see that as kind of
now similar? That you said that perspective, I agree because of the reverse effect. Mm-hmm. Like, for one, I'm going to go back to what you said too. The Warriors isn't just like this all-time superstar team. This team was built. Like, nobody was watching Steph Curry and Davidson. Like, nobody. I don't know what college Clay and Draymond Green went to. Like, these were teams.
I think Draymond was Michigan State. I don't know where Clay came from.
Exactly. So this was a team of average players that grew into this dynamic team, and Steph became the greatest three-point shooter. And for KD, he had the legacy. He was already argued about who was the better shooter, him and LeBron.
Yeah, he was the guy where player. He was.
Right. So he had the legacy, and now he went because he wanted the ring. So for Kyrie, it's the opposite. He had the ring, and now it's time for him to show who he is. Like, you know.
So I think it's like, it's like a reverse effect on that. You think about it, a lot of people say, well, it's the Eastern Conference. It's not really a lot of talent in the East, because I really feel like either if Boston or Cleveland goes to the finals next year, neither one of them, they're not going to beat Golden State. Mm-mm. They're not going to beat Houston with Chris Paul and James Harden. They're not. I don't even think they would beat OKC, with Russ and Paul George together. Now we do have to see how all those new pieces work together to see what kind of, and usually the first year you go through those growing pains. Just ask the Miami Heat. Yeah. When they lost to an inferior Dallas team that first year.
And they were like, not 6 rings.
So it does take a while for all that stuff to mesh together. When you're going to a new place like that, who's to say how Isaiah's going to fit into what Cleveland does? Who's to say how Kyrie's going to fit into what Boston does? Yeah. But I do believe with Gordon Hayward there and Kyrie there now, I believe it gives them more of an opportunity to shoot more three-pointers and make them, because Boston really didn't have any shooters last year.
Oh yeah, no.
Pretty much all they did was pretty much go inside with Al Horford, and then Isaiah did his little thing, and then around that, they really didn't have anybody that could take over a game or go on that streak to shoot from the outside or just take the game over.
Because once Isaiah went down, the heart of that team was Marcus Smart.
It was.
Yeah, because Avery Bradley, he's a good shooter, but he's not consistent. Mm-hmm. And, Marcus Smart really had to take over just to stay relevant once Isaiah got hurt. But I will say this. I feel like as far as the teams meshing, I do feel as though Cleveland is still going to be at one of the top of the Eastern, regardless of how they mesh.
It'll probably be Boston and them 1 and 2.
Exactly, because I do feel as though Boston is going to be able to mesh better, with Kyrie than Isaiah, because I feel like Isaiah was his own man on Boston, So for him now, he's going to have to take what Kyrie is feeling. So he's going to be like, man, I built my legacy up, and now I'm going to just be pushed to under LeBron. Because if they were to win or even get to the finals, they're not going to say it's because of Isaiah Thomas. It's going to be because of LeBron. And it's going to be the story of LeBron winning in the midst of Kyrie leaving him. They're not even going to talk about the relevancy of Isaiah Thomas unless he just has this breakout 40 average game kind of season. So,
and I feel that too when how you brought that up, like he wins in spite of, because LeBron is always going to get that. He's the reason why they win. Now, to be honest, when they beat Golden State 2 years ago, I thought it was. I mean, now LeBron was averaging triple double.
Right.
You know, we expect that from LeBron. He's a beast. He's a monster when it comes to that. But I really thought in the unsung hero of the finals year was Kyrie Irving. Yeah. I argued that, hey, he should have been MVP because, I mean, he hit the game-winning shot. When they were down 3-1, he was the one who really got the team going. He was the one really taking it to Steph Curry because Curry had to actually play defense. You know, he didn't get to just run around and just shoot all game.
And that kind of could be possibly one of the factors that Kyrie thought of in leaving because, like you said, he was the real key factor in them winning that championship. And
I'm not taking anything away from that block LeBron did on Iguodala. That was a big part in, but that 3-pointer,
somebody got to make the shot.
Yeah, and he hit it. It was like clutch. I mean, so he does have some clutchness in him.
Oh, definitely. I would definitely put the ball in Kyrie before LeBron as far as a clutch mid-range to 3-point shot. I would put it in Kyrie's hands first.
And then Boston's got a good little young core group they're building there, and then. The cool thing about it was Gordon Hayward and their coach, Boston's coach, I forget his name. I cannot think of his name.
I know who you're talking about. But
Coach Butler. And they play player-coach combination at Butler. And I think, you know, maybe that can help. Gordon Hayward knows the style of coach he is. He knows the style of player that Gordon Hayward is. So he can, you know, make offensive plays and offensive sets that help Gordon Hayward, you know, excel in that offense. Yeah. I mean, because when they were together at Butler, I mean, they almost won national championship.
Exactly.
I mean,
they were like a shot away, weren't they?
Like one shot away. It rimmed out against Duke. Me being a Tar Heel fan, I was hoping that shot went in, but it didn't. But
I hear you on that one.
But I mean, the trade right now has got a lot of rumors going on. We had a lot of big trades this offseason. I mean, we got Chris Paul and going to Houston. A lot of people shocked he left the Clippers. The Clippers were just underachieving. So it was time.
Yeah, the Clippers were definitely disappointing.
They were a good highlight reel to look at. Yeah, Sports Center, you know, you didn't catch the game. You see DeAndre, Duncan, or Griffin. But Chris Paul, he's going to start being that person. They're going to say, when is he going to win his championship?
Oh, yeah. And
because he's been in the league now, probably 11, 12, maybe more.
I think 12, actually.
Maybe about 11 or 12. I'm not sure, but it's going to start being a conversation. I think him and Carmelo is going to be like, hey, you guys are top 10 players. When are you guys going to, you know, finally get to the mountaintop?
And that's actually how I felt about Steve Nash, man. That was, again, growing up, like, Steve Nash was my favorite player. And, like, that's who made me start wanting to watch basketball. And, you know, he left actively without a ring. So.
Yeah, and you don't want to find yourself as, like, one of those players that you're one of the best, but when they have that conversation, you're like, but he never won a championship.
Nobody wants to be Charles Barkley.
Nobody wants to be Barkley. Nobody wants to be Iverson. But in Barkley's defense and all those other guys during that era, you had Michael Jordan. Yeah. So you want to win. John Stockton, Karl Malone. Michael Jordan has a lot of players' rings on their fingers right now.
Yeah, he definitely.
You take Jordan away, maybe Karl Malone has 2-3 championships.
Yeah.
You know? But, I mean, that's just how I feel about the trade. I don't know if they're going to rescind it because of the thing going on with Isaiah Thomas. He did speak out on it the other day and saying that he's going to be fine and everything should work out. But we just have to see how that's going to go. But I think it'll stand because I think Kyrie is going to not want to go back to Cleveland. I think he's already got his mind focused on starting elsewhere. So I think it'll be good for Boston, but neither one of them are going to win a championship.
Yeah, no.
Nobody can stack up with Golden State right now.
Yeah, that's what I said. We need to go ahead and accept the fact that for the next couple of years, unless some injury happens, we can expect Golden State to have a couple more rings. Like, this is the new dynasty of this era now. Just accept the fact. I mean, and I have to thank my wife because she didn't like sports. So I'm going to say this while we're closing. And so I told her to watch whatever sport, just in basketball. I'm not willing to let go of the Rams yet. But I said, whatever team you want to watch on basketball, I'll become the fan with you. And we were watching, I think maybe Game 4 when Cleveland, like, it seemed like it was a lot of calls in Cleveland's favor, and my wife just started getting mad, and she was like, you know what? I want to be a Warriors fan. I was like, thank you. But we're out of here, man. It's Sports Moods. Two Moody's.
One duty.
Sports.